What if everything you were taught about finding peace is exactly what's keeping it away from you? What if confidence runs from the people who chase it most? What if happiness hides from the ones who need it the hardest? What if the very fact that you're trying to fall asleep right now is the only thing stopping you? These aren't theories, they're paradoxes, 30 of them, and they're hidden inside the way you think, the way you love, and the way you decide whether your life is enough. Tonight we're going to find them together. So take a breath. Let your body settle wherever you are, because somewhere between the first paradox and the last you're going to fall asleep without even trying, which as you're about to discover is exactly how it was always supposed to work. Let's begin. The Loneliness Paradox. Picture yourself standing in the center of a grand, gilded ballroom. The chandeliers above cast a warm, flickering glow over hundreds of guests. The music is a sweeping, majestic symphony. The laughter is bright and infectious, and the air is thick with the scent of expensive perfume and celebration. You are physically surrounded by movement and life. Yet as you look into the eyes of those passing by, a strange, hollow chill settles in your chest. You realize with a start that you feel more isolated here, in the sea of humanity, than you do when walking alone in a moonlit forest. This is the loneliness paradox. Our awareness of our own isolation is actually magnified by the presence of others. We feel most alone not in solitude, but in a room full of people who see our faces, but do not know our souls. It is the gap between being seen and being understood that creates the deepest ache in the human experience. We try to bridge this gap by shouting louder, by performing harder, or by blending in, but the glass wall remains. True connection doesn't come from being in a crowd. It comes from the courage to be seen in your quietest, most unpolished state. As you breathe in now, feel that glass wall begin to dissolve. You don't need 1,000 people to be whole. You only need to be present with the one person who has been with you since the beginning, the silent witness within yourself. Let the music of the ballroom fade into the background, and listen instead to the steady, solitary rhythm of your own heart beating in the dark. It is enough to be known by yourself. You are your own home, your own sanctuary, and your own most faithful companion in the silence. When we stop running from loneliness, we discover that solitude is actually a crowded place, filled with the presence of our own consciousness. It is only in this quiet recognition that we can eventually reach out and touch another soul with true authenticity, rather than out of a desperate need to be filled. Loneliness is not a lack of company, it is a lack of connection to the self. By embracing the silence of this moment, you are rebuilding that connection. You are becoming a friend to yourself, a person who can sit in a crowded room or a silent forest and feel perfectly at home. The Confidence Paradox. Imagine standing before a heavy, ancient door made of solid, weathered oak. You are told that behind this door lies everything you've ever wanted, your greatest goals, your deepest fulfillment, and the version of yourself that is fearless. You reach for the handle, but it is locked tight, unyielding to your touch. A voice whispers that the key is success. If you could just win once, if you could prove your worth to the world, you would finally have the confidence to turn the handle and walk through. But as you search for that success, you realize the cruel, circular twist. The door only unlocks for those who already carry themselves as if it's open. This is the confidence paradox. You feel you need the win to feel confident, but the universe demands the confidence before it grants the win. It is a self-referential trap, a logical prison where the result is demanded as the entry fee. We spend years waiting for external permission to believe in ourselves, waiting for a trophy or a title to tell us we are capable. But consider this. What if confidence isn't a trophy you earn after the battle is over? What if it is the quiet, steady breath you take before the battle even begins? True confidence doesn't require a track record of victories. It only requires the willingness to be okay with whatever happens next, even the mistakes. As you settle into your seat and feel the weight of your body, realize that the key isn't hidden in a future victory. It has been in your hand the entire time, waiting for you to stop asking for permission to use it. You are the architect of your own belief, and the door has always been unlocked from the inside. We often think we are waiting for the world to believe in us, but the world is actually waiting for us to stop doubting ourselves. When you walk with the quiet assurance that you are already worthy, the locks of the world begin to fall away of their own accord. You don't need a map to the future, you only need the courage to take the next step in the dark. Confidence is not the absence of fear, but the decision that something else is more important. It is the belief that you can handle the outcome, no matter what it is. In this stillness, find that center of gravity. You are not waiting for a sign, you are the sign. The expectation paradox. Think of a shimmering, distant horizon you are sprinting toward across a vast, open plain. You believe with every fiber of your being that once you reach that line where the earth meets the sky, you will finally be allowed to rest. You'll be satisfied. You'll be enough. But the faster you run, the further the horizon recedes, always just out of reach. This is the expectation paradox. The high bars we set to motivate ourselves often become the very things that guarantee our perpetual disappointment. We use expectations as a whip, thinking they will drive us to greatness, but they often act as a veil, blinding us to the beauty of where we are standing right now. When we live for the next moment, we treat the current moment as a mere obstacle to be overcome. We become collectors of futures, never actually living in the present. This creates a state of not yet, where happiness is always a mile away. If the bar is always rising, you are perpetually failing, no matter how much you achieve. As you lie here in the stillness, let the horizon fade into the night. You aren't running anymore. There is nowhere to get to and nothing to prove to anyone. In the absence of expectation, peace finally has room to breathe within you. When you stop demanding that life be a certain way, you finally become free to experience life exactly as it is, vast, imperfect, and remarkably beautiful. Your worth is not a destination. It is the ground you are already standing on, the air you are already breathing, and the life you are already living. Rest in the knowledge that you have already arrived. We spend our lives preparing to live, but life is what is happening while we are busy making other plans. If you can find contentment in the simple act of breathing, you have bypassed the greatest trap of the human ego. The sunset doesn't owe you anything, and yet it gives you everything. The same is true of this moment. Let go of the need for things to be better and realize they are already sacred. By lowering the bar of what is required for happiness, you suddenly find that happiness is everywhere, hidden in the mundane details of your daily existence. You are free from the race. The attention paradox. Notice your mind in this very second. As you try to pin your awareness to these words, it flutters away like a bird trapped in a room, seeking an exit that doesn't exist. You try to force it back, to grip your focus with white knuckles, but the harder you squeeze, the more your thoughts struggle to escape. This is the attention paradox. The harder you try to focus, the faster your mind seeks a distraction. We treat our attention like a wild animal we must break, but the mind is more like water. The more you splash and struggle to keep it still, the more ripples you create. When we obsess over being productive or focused, we create a secondary layer of stress that actually pulls us further from the task at hand. True focus is not a closed fist of effort. It is an open palm of permission. It is the act of noticing the bird has flown away and gently, without judgment, leaving the window open for it to return on its own. You cannot force a flower to bloom by pulling at its petals. You can only provide the right environment and wait for nature to take its course. Breathe out and let the struggle for control dissolve into the quiet, natural rhythm of your own breath. The more you allow your mind to be exactly as it is, chaotic, wandering, or still, the more it naturally settles into the quiet depth of the present moment. Focus isn't about working harder, it's about resisting less. It is the art of being fully here without needing the mind to behave in any specific way. In that acceptance, the bird eventually tires and comes to rest on your shoulder. We think we must conquer our thoughts to find peace, but we actually find peace by surrendering the war against them. When you stop trying to control where your mind goes, you find that it eventually returns to the only place it can truly rest, the here and now. Let your awareness be as wide as the sky, allowing every cloud of thought to pass through without needing to touch a single one. Real concentration is effortless. It is the natural byproduct of being deeply interested in the present. Allow yourself to be fascinated by the simple sensation of existing. The burden paradox. Imagine a weary traveler walking down a long, dusty road at dusk. From a distance, they look light. Their hands are empty, their clothes are simple, and their stride seems steady. But if you could look closer, you would see the invisible weight pulling at their shoulders, curving their spine. They are carrying the things no one else can see. The what-ifs from a decade ago, the apologies they never sent, the fear of being truly known, and the heavy expectations of people who are no longer even in their lives. This is the burden paradox. The heaviest things we carry are the ones that occupy no physical space. We can lift 100 pounds of steel with physical effort, but a single ounce of regret can weigh down an entire lifetime. We keep these burdens hidden because we think they make us weak, but the weight only grows in the dark of secrecy. We believe that by holding onto these things, we are being responsible or honorable, but in reality, we are just becoming exhausted. As you lie here in the stillness of your room, imagine setting that invisible rucksack down on the floor beside your bed. You don't have to carry it through the night. You don't have to carry it into tomorrow. Let the floor take the weight for a while. You are allowed to be light. You are allowed to let go of the things that have no physical weight but feel like lead in your soul. To be free is not to have no history. It is to refuse to let that history break your back. You are a soul meant for flight, not for carrying the ghosts of yesterday. Many of us carry the weight of a version of ourselves that no longer exists, trying to live up to the dreams of a person we used to be. But the road is long and the sun is setting. It is time to travel light. By letting go of the past, you aren't losing anything. You are simply making room for the present to finally enter your heart. Feel the lightness in your chest as you release the need to carry it all. A burden shared with the silence is a burden halved. You have done enough for today. You have carried enough for a lifetime. Let the weight fall. The envy paradox. You find yourself scrolling through a digital gallery of someone else's life. The perfect vacations, the effortless smiles, the pristine homes. You feel a sharp pang of envy, a desire to swap your messy reality for their polished highlight reel. But here is the paradox. We envy the destination while being completely unwilling to pay the actual price of the journey. We want the diamond without the pressure and darkness that created it. Often, the very person you envy is looking at someone else, feeling the same hollowness you do, because they are performing a version of themselves that doesn't actually exist. Envy is a thief that steals the joy from your own room to decorate a house you'll never live in. When we look at others, we see a finished painting. When we look at ourselves, we see the messy sketches and the erased lines. But those lines are where the life is. Your mess is a sign of your growth, something no polished image can ever capture. Furthermore, the person you envy may be suffering in ways you couldn't survive. We want their success, but we wouldn't want their specific demons. If we could swap lives entirely, not just the highlights but the internal struggles, the fears, and the family history, we would likely beg for our own lives back within minutes. Your path is uniquely yours, designed specifically for your soul's evolution. Comparison is the enemy of contentment because it compares your behind the scenes with everyone else's best of reel. When you look within, you find a world that is far richer and more complex than any image on a screen could ever hope to be. We are all fighting battles that the world knows nothing about, and the person you envy is no exception. They are likely looking at you, wondering how you found the peace they so desperately crave. Stop looking over the fence and start watering your own garden. The grass isn't greener on the other side, it's greener where you water it. Your life is the only one you were meant to live, with all its specific heartaches and triumphs. By accepting your own path, you stop being a spectator of other people's lives and start being the author of your own. Envy is a signpost telling you what you value. Use it as information, not as a weapon against your own peace. The noise paradox. Think of a crowded city street at noon, horns blaring, sirens wailing, thousands of voices shouting to be heard. In our modern world, we equate volume with importance. We think the person with the loudest platform, the most aggressive opinion, or the most frequent posts must have the most value to offer. But the noise paradox suggests the opposite. The loudest voices often carry the least meaning. True wisdom doesn't need to shout. It is like the gravity that holds the planets in place, silent, invisible, yet absolutely fundamental to existence. We are so busy listening to the static of the world that we forget how to hear the signal. We have become experts in consuming information, but novices in digesting truth. The most important realizations of your life didn't come to you in a shout. They arrived in the quiet gaps between heartbeats or in the stillness of a lonely night. Tonight, let the noise of the world fall away. The silence isn't an empty void to be feared. It is a full, rich space containing everything you've been too busy to hear. When you stop adding noise to the world, the truth finally has the space to resonate. The most profound things in existence, love, consciousness, and the turn of the seasons, all happen in a beautiful, sacred silence. Strength is not found in how much you can say, but in how much you can hear when the world stops talking. The quietest person in the room often holds the key to the deepest understanding because they are the only ones not competing for the air. They are the ones who are observing the patterns, the nuances, and the underlying truths that the loud voices miss in their rush to be heard. Silence is not an absence of sound. It is the presence of awareness. In the quiet, you can hear the heartbeat of the universe, and more importantly, you can hear the truth of your own soul. Don't be afraid of the quiet. It is where the real work gets done. It is the canvas upon which the masterpiece of your life is painted. When you master the silence, you master your life, because you are no longer at the mercy of every passing shout. The most powerful thing you can do in a noisy world is to remain quiet and listen to the truth. The authenticity paradox. Imagine a person standing in front of a mirror, carefully practicing their spontaneous laugh and their natural pose for a photograph. They are working so hard to appear authentic that they have become a rigid performance. This is the paradox. The more someone tries to perform realness, the less real they actually become. Authenticity is not a style you can put on. It is what remains when the performance finally stops. It is the brave act of being unedited in a world that demands perfection. We fear that if we show our true selves, the flaws, the uncertainties, the unpolished edges, we will be rejected by those around us. But the truth is, people don't fall in love with your perfections. They fall in love with your humanity. We are drawn to the cracks in the vase, not the smooth surface, because the cracks are where the light gets in and where the history shows. Authenticity isn't a goal you reach. It's the mask you finally have the courage to drop. It's the realization that you don't have to become yourself. You already are yourself. You just have to stop trying to be someone else for the sake of an audience. Tonight, give yourself permission to be unpolished and imperfect. You don't need to be impressive to be important. You are already enough, exactly as you are when no one is watching and there is no camera to satisfy. True power is being comfortable in your own skin, without the need for filters, scripts, or approval from the gallery. Your truth is your most valuable asset, and the more you embrace it, the more the right people will be drawn to you. We are all walking contradictions, messy and beautiful and complicated. To be authentic is to stop trying to resolve the tension and to simply start living it. You are a masterpiece in progress, and the world is waiting for your true voice, not the echo of someone else's. When you stop acting, the real story begins. The relief of being yourself is the greatest freedom you will ever know. It is the end of the exhaustion that comes from maintaining a facade. You are safe to be real. The absence paradox. Consider the air moving in and out of your lungs right now. It is the most vital thing in your existence, yet you likely haven't thought about it once today until I mentioned it. We are designed to overlook the constant and the essential. This is the absence paradox. We only truly value what we have after the space it occupied becomes a vacuum. We value health only when we are ill. We value silence only when the world is too loud. We value the people we love most when they are no longer within reach. We spend our lives chasing the extraordinary while stepping over the essential. We are like fish searching for the ocean, unaware that we are already swimming in it and that it is sustaining our every move. But what if we could flip the script? What if we could learn to see the presence of our blessings as clearly as we feel their absence? To be truly wealthy is to notice the things you have that money cannot buy and that you wouldn't sell for any price. As you breathe, feel the simple, free miracle of that air. It is a gift given to you every few seconds without you even having to ask or earn it. It is enough. You have enough. The world is full of invisible treasures, the warmth of a blanket, the rhythm of a heart, the safety of a room, that only become visible when we slow down enough to look. Gratitude is the art of seeing what is already there before it is gone. It is the practice of treasuring the mundane until it becomes miraculous. We often think that happiness requires more, but more often, it requires simply noticing what we already have. If you can appreciate the small things, you will find that your life is already filled with wonders. You don't need to wait for a tragedy to realize how precious your life is. You can decide to see it right now, in the quiet of this room. Take a moment to inventory the miracles. Your sight, your hearing, your ability to feel, the very fact that you exist. These are the things we ignore every day, yet they are the foundations of our joy. Don't wait for the absence to feel the value. The listening paradox. Picture a great orator standing on a stage, moving thousands with their carefully crafted words. We think of them as the ultimate communicator. But the listening paradox tells us that the most effective communicators are actually the ones who speak the least. To speak is to repeat what you already know. To listen is to potentially learn something new and expand your world. When you talk, you are trying to project yourself onto the world, to control the narrative, and to define your boundaries. When you listen, you are allowing the world to expand your own boundaries. The person who listens deeply isn't just hearing words. They are holding space for another soul to exist. This creates a connection that no clever speech could ever replicate. We think we can talk our way into someone's heart, but we actually listen our way in. By giving someone your full, undivided attention, you are giving them the rarest and most valuable commodity in the modern world, the feeling of being heard. In the silence of this night, practice listening to the world around you, the hum of the house, the rhythm of your breath, the quiet thoughts that surface when the mouth is closed. There is a whole language being spoken in the quiet, and you are finally ready to hear it. The person who knows when to be silent is the person who understands the true power of sound. To listen is to love, and to love is to set aside the ego for a moment to truly behold another. Most of us are just waiting for our turn to speak, rehearsing our responses while the other person is still talking. But when you truly listen, you stop the rehearsal and enter the reality of the other person's experience. You become a mirror, reflecting their truth back to them, and in that reflection, both of you are transformed. Listening is an act of deep hospitality, welcoming the stranger of another's perspective into your own heart. It is the bridge between two separate worlds. Tonight, let yourself be a vessel for the quiet. The universe has a lot to tell you if you can just stop talking for a moment. The Success Paradox. Imagine a climber who has spent years preparing to summit the world's highest peak. They have sacrificed sleep, relationships, and comfort for this one singular goal. Finally, they stand at the top, looking out over the clouds. They expected to feel a permanent sense of triumph, a finality of happiness that would never fade. But instead, they feel a strange, hollow ache. The goal, once achieved, is no longer a goal. It is just a point in time that is already passing into history. This is the success paradox. Achieving a dream often destroys the very thing that made the dream beautiful, the pursuit. We think the destination will provide the meaning, but the meaning was always in the climb itself. When we arrive, we realize that the journey was the only thing that was ever truly real. Success isn't a place you stay. It's a door you walk through to find the next mountain. If we tie our happiness to the finish line, we spend 99% of our lives being unhappy while we wait. The secret to a successful life isn't reaching the top. It's learning to love the blisters, the cold, and the steep path. True success is the ability to be satisfied while still being hungry, to be at peace while still moving. It is the realization that you are not what you achieve, but the effort you put into the achieving. The peak is just a view. The mountain is the teacher. When you reach the top, take a breath, look at the stars, and then prepare for the next descent. We are often so focused on the trophy that we miss the transformation that happened during the training. The person who started the climb is not the same person who reached the summit. That growth, that internal shift, is the true success. Everything else is just a souvenir. Don't let your achievements become your identity. Let your character be your legacy. The world may applaud your results, but only you know the value of the effort it took to get there. Real success is the quiet pride in knowing you gave your all, regardless of the score. It is the peace of knowing you didn't quit when the path got steep. The ordinary paradox. We are taught from a young age to strive for the extraordinary, to be the best, the brightest, the most famous. We are told that an ordinary life is a wasted life, a small story not worth telling. But the ordinary paradox reveals a hidden truth. The most truly extraordinary people often live completely ordinary lives. They find their depth not in grand gestures or global fame, but in the way they drink a cup of tea, the way they listen to a friend, or the way they watch the sunset. They have realized that the miraculous isn't found in the rare, it's found in the way you perceive the common. A life isn't measured by its highlights, but by the quality of its ordinary moments. If you can find wonder in a Tuesday afternoon, you are wealthier than any celebrity who only feels alive on a red carpet. The sunset doesn't need to be famous to be beautiful. It just needs to be seen by someone who cares. Your life doesn't need to be extraordinary to be meaningful. It just needs to be lived with presence and kindness. As you close your eyes, realize that your ordinary life is the canvas for something truly magnificent. The magic isn't in what you do, but in the awareness and love you bring to the doing. The most beautiful things in the world are often the ones no one else notices. The quiet, the steady, and the simple. You don't need to change the world to have a world-changing experience of being alive. If you can find the extraordinary in the ordinary, you will never be bored and you will never be poor. The secret to a rich life is not having more, but wanting less and seeing more clearly. Every morning is a miracle, every breath is a gift, and every person you meet is a world waiting to be discovered. Don't miss the masterpiece of your life because you were looking for a museum. True greatness is the ability to see the sacred in the mundane. Your life is not small, your attention has just been elsewhere. Bring it home to the ordinary and watch it bloom into the miraculous. The Closeness Paradox. Imagine two stars orbiting each other in the deep velvet of space. They are bound together by an invisible force, providing each other with light, heat, and gravity. But that same proximity means that if one flares or explodes, the other is scorched. This is the Closeness Paradox. The people who have the power to heal us are the only ones with the map to where it hurts the most. We open our hearts to find love, but in doing so, we leave the door unlocked for pain. You cannot have the depth of connection without the risk of vulnerability. We often try to protect ourselves by keeping people at a distance, but a heart that is never touched by salt is a heart that never truly knows the warmth of the sun. To love is to accept the paradox that the greatest joy and the greatest ache often come from the same hand. We think intimacy is about being safe, but real intimacy is about being known, and being known means your flaws and wounds are visible. It is only when we are close enough to be hurt that we are close enough to be truly loved for who we are, rather than who we pretend to be. As you think of those you hold dear, realize that the friction you sometimes feel is just a sign of how close you have allowed them to get. It is a sacred risk, and it is the only one worth taking if you wish to truly live. Connection is the fire that warms the house, but it is also the fire that can burn. We want the warmth without the danger, but the two are inseparable. To truly love someone is to give them the power to destroy you and to trust that they won't. This trust is the highest form of human courage. When we stop trying to protect our hearts, we finally allow them to grow to their full capacity. You are not meant to be a fortress. You are meant to be a bridge. Let the people in, even if it means getting hurt. The pain will pass, but the love will remain. Every scar is a story of a risk you were brave enough to take. In the end, the only thing that matters is how well you loved, not how well you protected yourself. The Forgiveness Paradox. Think of a heavy, rusted iron chain that you have wrapped around your own waist, with the other end tied to someone who wronged you years ago. You pull and pull, hopping to hurt them, to make them feel the weight of what they did to you. But they have walked away long ago, and you are the only one still straining against the iron. This is the forgiveness paradox. Forgiving someone isn't a gift you give to them. It is the act of uncurling your own fingers from a hot coal. It is the realization that your anger is not a weapon against your enemy. It is a poison you are drinking every day. Hopping the other person will be the one to die. When you forgive, you aren't saying what happened was right. You are saying that you refuse to let a past moment dictate your present peace. You are reclaiming the vast energy you were using to maintain that grudge. Forgiveness is the ultimate act of self-interest and self-preservation. It is the moment you decide that your future is more important than your grievance. In the silence of the night, imagine that rusted chain falling away and hitting the ground. You are no longer tethered to the person who hurt you. You are free to walk away into your own life, unburdened and light. The weight they gave you is theirs to keep. You are choosing to leave it behind. You are not releasing them from their debt. You are releasing yourself from the prison of waiting for them to pay. We think that by holding on to our anger, we are demanding justice, but real justice is our own freedom. When you forgive, you stop being a victim and start being a person again. It is a quiet, internal revolution that changes the world by changing the way you see it. Let go of the chain and feel how easy it is to breathe when you aren't pulling the weight of the past behind you. Forgiveness is the final victory over the person who hurt you, because it means they no longer have the power to ruin your day. The vulnerability paradox. Picture a majestic castle with walls 50 feet thick, a moat full of thorns, and a heavy drawbridge that is always raised. Inside, the king is safe, but he is also a prisoner who can never feel the wind on his face or hear the songs of the village below. We often mistake armor for strength, but real power is the courage to be influenceable and open. This is the vulnerability paradox. Showing your weakness is the only true source of human strength. It takes no courage to hide behind a mask of perfection or a wall of anger. It takes immense courage to say, "I am afraid," or "I need help," or "I don't know the way forward." When we drop the act, we give others permission to do the same, creating a bridge where there was once only a wall. Strength isn't being unbreakable. It's being willing to be seen even when you feel broken. A rigid, unyielding tree snaps in a hurricane, but the willow survives because it is weak enough to bend with the wind. True resilience is found in your ability to be open to the world, even when the world is difficult. Tonight, let your defenses rest. You don't need to be a fortress to be worthy. You are safe enough to be yourself, with all your beautiful human cracks. The light shines brightest through the places where the armor has failed. You are not strong despite your wounds, but because of your courage to bear them openly. We think that by hiding our flaws, we are protecting our image, but we are actually just starving our souls of connection. People don't want your perfection, they want your presence. When you show up as you are, you invite the world to do the same. It is the only way to build a life that is truly solid, because it is built on the truth of who you are, not the lie of who you think you should be. Vulnerability is the birthplace of innovation, creativity, and love. It is the risky ground where all good things grow. Don't be afraid to be seen. The world is waiting for the real you, not the statue you've built to protect yourself. The freedom paradox. Imagine a bird given total freedom. No gravity to push against, no air resistance, no branches to land on, and no nest to return to at night. In that void, the bird cannot fly. It can only tumble endlessly through the dark. This is the freedom paradox. Total freedom with no structure or boundaries becomes its own kind of aimless, terrifying prison. We think we want a life with no rules and no no's. But meaning is actually found in the yes we choose to say to a few specific things. Freedom isn't the absence of commitment. It's the ability to choose what you are willing to be bound by. A river is only powerful and focused because it has banks. Without them, it would just be a stagnant, shallow swamp. We find our purpose when we limit our options for the sake of a goal. By choosing one path, you give up 1,000 others, but that is the only way to actually get anywhere. Freedom is the power to choose your own discipline and your own sacrifices. Tonight, find comfort in the boundaries of your life, your home, your responsibilities, your relationships. They are not cages that keep you in. They are the framework that allows you to rise and find direction. They are the structure that turns a heap of stones into a temple of meaning. True liberty is not doing whatever you want, but having the strength to do what you truly value. Most of us are afraid of limits because we think they take away our power, but limits are actually what concentrate our power. A laser is only powerful because its light is confined to a single direction. Your life becomes powerful when you decide what you are willing to say no to. By embracing your boundaries, you aren't shrinking your world, you are deepening it. You are becoming a person of substance, someone who stands for something. And that, in the end, is the only true freedom there is. Commitment is the key that unlocks the door to a meaningful life. When you stop looking at all the other doors and walk through the one you've chosen, you finally begin to live. The giving paradox. Consider a mountain spring high in the peaks. If the water stops flowing out, the spring becomes a stagnant pool, and eventually the source dries up from the lack of movement. But as long as it gives its water away to the stream below, more water rises up from the deep earth to replace it. This is the giving paradox. The more freely you give of your time, your love, and your energy, the more of those things seem to return to you in unexpected ways. We live in a world that preaches accumulation as the only path to wealth, but the soul knows that circulation is the true path to abundance. When you hold on to something too tightly, you lose the ability to receive anything new because your hands are already full of the old. When you open your hand to give, you have an open hand to receive. Generosity is the only investment where the interest is paid back in immediate peace of mind. You cannot deplete a heart that is committed to giving, because the act of giving opens up new chambers within the self that were previously locked. The more light you give to others, the brighter your own world becomes by reflection. As you drift towards sleep, think of one small way you can give tomorrow, not because you have to, but because you can. It is the greatest wealth there is, and it is a source that never runs dry as long as it is shared. We often fear that by giving, we will have less, but the opposite is true. Giving is the way we tell the universe that we have enough. It is an act of abundance that creates more abundance. When you give, you are not losing a part of yourself. You are expanding the boundaries of who you are. You are becoming part of the great flow of life, and in that flow, you find a security that hoarding can never provide. True wealth is not what you keep, but what you are willing to let go of for the benefit of another. By blessing others, you become a conduit for blessing, and the stream will never run dry. The unfinished paradox. Think of two paintings in a gallery. One is a completed portrait, beautiful but fixed and final. There is nothing left to say. The other is a canvas where the artist stopped halfway. The lines are raw, the potential is still screaming from the edges, and the story is still being told. Your mind will linger on the second one much longer because it invites you to imagine. This is the unfinished paradox. What we never completed haunts us more than what we failed at. We can move on from a no, but the maybe stays with us forever. We are often more afraid of our potential than our limitations because potential requires us to act and take risks. But remember, a life that is under construction is a life that is still alive and breathing. You don't have to be a finished masterpiece tonight. You are allowed to be a work in progress, with chapters still unwritten and colors still being mixed in the dark. The unfinished parts of your life are not defects or failures. They are the places where growth is still happening. They are the open doors of your future. Embrace the messiness of being incomplete. It is the only state that allows for the possibility of something new and better to emerge. You are a story that is still being written, and that is a beautiful thing. The most compelling lives are the ones that are still reaching for the next line. We often feel ashamed of our half-finished projects and our unresolved questions, but these are the very things that keep us curious and engaged with life. If everything were finished, there would be no reason to wake up tomorrow. The beauty of the human experience is that it is never quite done. We are always becoming, always evolving, always reaching for a version of ourselves that is just out of sight. Rest in the not yet. It is the most fertile ground there is. Your potential is not a burden. It is a promise. Let the unfinished parts of your life inspire you rather than intimidate you. You are a work in progress, and the artist is still at work. The Shadow Paradox. Imagine walking through a bright meadow at noon. Behind you, a long, dark shadow follows your every move. You can run, you can hide in a dark room, but as soon as the light returns, so does the shadow. This is the shadow paradox. The parts of yourself you most deny, your anger, your jealousy, your deep fears, hold the greatest key to your power. When we suppress our darkness, we also dim our light, because they come from the same source of human intensity and passion. To be a whole human being is to integrate the shadow, not to eliminate it through force. Your anger, when understood, can become a passion for justice. Your fear, when listened to, can become a deep sensitivity to the world's needs. When you stop fighting your shadow and start walking with it, you finally stop being at war with your own nature. The shadow is just a reminder that there is a light shining somewhere nearby, casting its glow. Tonight, invite your shadow to sit with you. Don't judge it, just acknowledge it as a part of the whole. When you accept the whole of yourself, the dark and the bright, you finally become unbreakable and authentic. You don't need to be perfect to be powerful, you just need to be whole. The shadow is not your enemy, it is the silent witness to your brilliance. Most of us spend our lives trying to be good, when what we really need is to be whole. A person who has integrated their shadow is a person who cannot be manipulated by their own repressed emotions. They are grounded, steady, and terrifyingly real. They know the depth of their own capacity for darkness, and because of that they are capable of a light that is not naive but earned. Don't be afraid of the dark parts of your heart. They are just the places where you haven't yet learned to shine your awareness. Bring them into the light and watch them transform from burdens into strengths. The more you know your shadow, the less it can control you. You are the master of your own house, and every room deserves a light. The Butterfly Effect Paradox. Think of a single, tiny butterfly flapping its wings in a tropical rainforest. That small displacement of air, through a series of complex interactions, could eventually trigger a storm on the other side of the planet months later. This is the Butterfly Effect Paradox. The smallest, most unnoticed moments can redirect the entire course of a life. You are here tonight because of 1,000 accidents. A train you missed, a book you randomly picked up, a stranger who smiled at you 10 years ago. We worry so much about the big decisions, but it's the quiet, daily choices that build the world. You may feel insignificant in the vastness of the cosmos, but you are a vital link in an infinite chain. Your existence is a miracle of a billion coincidences all lining up perfectly just for you to be here, breathing right now. If one small thing had been different in the history of the world, you wouldn't be you. This means that every action you take, no matter how small, ripples out into eternity. You are far more powerful than you know. Your kindness today could be the butterfly wing that saves someone a year from now in a way you will never see. Every breath you take is an event of cosmic significance. You are a pebble thrown into a still pond, and your ripples will reach shores you can't even imagine. We often feel like our small acts of good don't matter in a world that is so loud and chaotic, but the universe doesn't forget anything. Every smile, every word of encouragement, every moment of patience is a seed planted in the garden of the future. You may never see the forest that grows from your actions, but that doesn't make the planting any less important. You are a co-creator of reality, whether you realize it or not. Embrace the power of your own influence and choose to flap your wings for something beautiful. The storm you trigger might just be a storm of grace. Your presence matters more than you can possibly comprehend. Every interaction is a chance to change the world. The Measurement Paradox. In the world of quantum physics, particles don't have a definite place or state until a scientist looks at them. The act of looking changes the outcome. This is the measurement paradox. You cannot observe something without changing it. This isn't just science, it's a law of the human heart. When you start measuring your life, comparing your salary, your followers, or your age to others, you change the quality of your experience. You move from living your life to evaluating it as if you were an outsider. But you were not meant to be a judge. You were meant to be a participant. When you stop trying to measure how good your life is, you finally allow it to just be. The beauty of a forest isn't found in the number of trees, but in the experience of walking through it and breathing the damp air. Stop counting the grains of sand and just feel the warmth of the beach under your feet. The most important things in life, love, joy, and peace, cannot be measured with a ruler or a clock, and the moment you try to put a number on them, they begin to slip away like mist. Tonight, let go of the yardstick. You are not a set of statistics. You are a living, breathing mystery that is beyond all measurement. You are a vast, unmapped territory that can only be explored, never calculated. We think that by measuring things, we are gaining control over them, but we are actually just losing our connection to them. A sunset that you photograph and count the likes for is not the same sunset you sit and watch in silence. One is a piece of data, the other is a piece of your soul. Your worth cannot be summed up in a bank balance or a job title. You are an infinite being, and any attempt to measure you is like trying to catch the wind in a net. Let go of the need to be ahead or on track and simply be here. The quality of your life is determined by the depth of your attention, not the height of your achievements. Live beyond the numbers. The Entropy Paradox. The universe is ruled by entropy, the law that everything naturally moves toward chaos, decay, and disorder. Buildings eventually crumble, stars burn out, and memories fade into the dark. Yet in the middle of this universal breakdown, life does the opposite. Life takes simple atoms and builds them into complex brains, beautiful flowers, and conscious thoughts. This is the entropy paradox. The universe trends toward death, yet life keeps building beauty out of the wreckage. We are a temporary, stunning rebellion against the dark. Even when things feel like they are falling apart in your own life, remember that falling apart is often the first step toward a new kind of falling together. Complexity requires the breakdown of the simple to make room for the new. You are made of stardust that learned how to dream. That is the greatest victory there is in a universe of cold atoms. Every breath you take is a win against the chaos. When you see decay, don't just see the end, see the raw material for the next beginning. Life is the art of building something meaningful in a world that is constantly trying to return to dust. You are the architect of that meaning, and your tools are awareness and love. In a universe that is cooling down, you are the fire that keeps the story alive. We often fear the breakdown of our lives, our bodies, and our systems, but without that breakdown, there could be no evolution. The old must give way for the new to be born. It is a painful process, but it is also a sacred one. You are part of the creative force of the universe, the one that looks at the ruins and sees a temple. Your ability to find meaning in suffering is the ultimate act of defiance against entropy. You are not just a victim of time. You are the one who makes time worth having. The more things fall apart, the more opportunities you have to build something even more beautiful. You are a master of transformation. The Fermi Paradox. Look up at the night sky. There are billions of stars, and around those stars are billions of planets. Statistically, the universe should be teeming with life, with cities in the clouds and voices in the static. Yet when we listen with our most powerful telescopes, we hear only total, haunting silence. This is the Fermi Paradox. The universe screams with possibility, yet greets us with a void. But maybe the silence isn't an absence. Maybe it's an invitation. Maybe the other voices are waiting for us to become quiet enough to hear them. Or maybe our role is to be the consciousness that gives the silence a name and a meaning. In the quiet of your room, you are the universe experiencing itself. You aren't just in the universe. You are the universe, awake and listening. If we are indeed alone, then our lives are infinitely more precious. We are the flame in the dark, the only ones who can see the beauty of the stars. But if we are not alone, then the silence is just a conversation we haven't joined yet. Either way, the mystery is a gift to be cherished. Let the vastness of the sky remind you that your problems, however large they feel, are held in a very wide and ancient embrace. You are a part of the great unknown, and that makes you part of everything. We spend so much time looking for signs of life out there, when the most incredible sign of life is the fact that we are here to ask the question. Our consciousness is the aperture through which the cosmos looks at itself. That responsibility is both heavy and beautiful. Whether there are others or not, our job remains the same: to be as awake as possible, to love as deeply as possible, and to witness the magnificence of existence while we have the chance. The silence isn't empty. It's waiting for you to find your own voice within it. You are the explorer of the infinite, and the map is inside your heart. The Nostalgia Paradox. Imagine a memory of a perfect summer afternoon from your childhood. The light was golden, the air was sweet, and everything felt safe. But if you could go back to that exact moment with your adult mind, you would find that you were still worried about school, or sad about a friend, or bored with the heat. This is the Nostalgia Paradox. We long for a past that never quite existed the way we remember it in our longing. Memory is not a camera. It's a painter that uses the colors of our current needs to shade our history and make it feel soft. We look back to find certainty, but the past was just as messy and uncertain as the present is now. Don't waste your now longing for a then that has been edited by time. The only moment that can ever actually hold you is this one. When we romanticize the past, we diminish the present. The good old days are happening right now, but you'll only realize it 10 years from now unless you choose to see the gold in the light today. The light is golden right now if you are willing to look. Let the past stay in its frame and step into the living world that is waiting for you with open arms. You are living the future's memories right now, so make them worth the paint. We often use nostalgia as a way to avoid the challenges of today, but the challenges of today are exactly what will become the golden age of tomorrow. Every time you find yourself wishing for the past, ask yourself what you are missing in the present. Usually, it's not the past we miss, but the feeling of being present in it. You can have that feeling right now. You don't need a time machine, you only need to wake up. This breath, this room, this moment, this is the real thing. Don't trade it for a postcard. The past is a beautiful place to visit, but a terrible place to live. Your home is here. The growth paradox. Think of a small seed buried in the dark, cold earth. To become the oak tree it is destined to be, the seed must first be completely destroyed. It must crack open, its protective shell must rot away, and it must push through the resistance of the heavy soil into the unknown. This is the growth paradox. To become who you need to be, you must be willing to let go of who you used to be. We want to grow, but we want to stay safe and unchanged at the same time. But safety is the enemy of transformation. The discomfort you feel during times of change isn't a sign that you are failing. It's the sound of your old shell cracking to make room for something larger. You are not losing yourself. You are finally meeting the version of yourself that was hidden inside the seed. You cannot have the blossom without the death of the bud. Growth is a series of small deaths followed by grander births. Tonight, if you feel lost or broken, remember the seed. You aren't being buried. You are being planted in the soil of your future. The darkness is not the end. It is the environment required for your next evolution to take root. You are becoming something you cannot yet imagine, and the struggle is just the evidence of your life force. We often resist the pain of growth because we think it means something is wrong, but pain is just the feedback that the boundaries are expanding. The most beautiful parts of your life will come from the moments where you were most uncomfortable, because those were the moments where you had to grow to survive. Don't fear the pressure, it's what turns coal into diamonds. Embrace the breaking because it is the only way the light can get in. You are not falling apart, you are falling into place. Every crisis is an opportunity for a breakthrough. Trust the process. The letting go paradox. Imagine trying to hold onto a handful of dry, fine sand. If you squeeze your hand into a tight, desperate fist, the sand is forced out between your fingers until almost nothing remains. But if you keep your hand open and flat, the sand rests there, stable and full. This is the letting go paradox. You can only truly receive and hold onto what you stop needing to control with force. We try to grasp peace, secure love, and force sleep. But these things only arrive when we relax our grip and become a landing pad rather than a hunter. Surrender isn't giving up. It's the realization that some things are too big and too fluid to be held in a fist. As you lie there, let your muscles soften, let your jaw relax, and let your breath be shallow and natural. You are the open palm, and the world is finally resting within you. The things that are meant for you don't need to be chased, they need to be allowed. When you stop fighting the current of your own life, you realize the water has been carrying you exactly where you need to go all along. Let the river take you. You don't have to swim anymore. Just float and trust the water. The greatest power is often found in the deepest surrender, where the struggle ends and the true journey begins. We think that by letting go, we are losing our influence, but we are actually gaining a much greater influence, the power of alignment. When you align yourself with the way things are, rather than the way you want them to be, you become unstoppable. You are no longer fighting the universe. You are the universe. Let go of the need to know how it all ends and simply trust that you are being held. The sand will stay as long as you don't try to own it. The more you let go, the more you have. It's a mystery that can only be experienced, never explained. Release the tiller and let the wind do the work. You are exactly where you need to be. The Presence Paradox. We spend most of our lives as time travelers. Our bodies are in the chair, but our minds are 5 years in the past or 3 hours in the future. We are always preparing for a now that hasn't arrived yet, and by the time it does, we are already thinking about the next thing on the list. The presence paradox is this: the only moment that actually exists is the one we are constantly trying to escape from. We think real life is somewhere else, in a promotion, a vacation, or a different relationship, but life is simply the collection of nows we actually showed up for. You don't need to find yourself in the future. You are already here and you are already complete in this breath. The sounds you hear, the feeling of the blanket against your skin, the rhythm of your heart. This is the destination. There is no other place to be, and there is no better version of this moment waiting for you. You have arrived at the only place that matters. When you stop looking for the exit, you finally find the entrance to your own life. Rest in the here, rest in the now. This moment is the only thing that is real. Everything else is just a story you tell yourself. The truth is found in the simple act of being exactly where you are. Most of us are so afraid of the present because it feels so ordinary, but the ordinary is where the sacred is hidden. If you can't find peace in a single breath, you won't find it in 1,000 accomplishments. Stop waiting for your life to start and realize it's already in full swing. This is it. This is the masterpiece. Don't miss it because you were looking for the frame. The present is a gift that we often leave unopened because we are so busy looking at the wrapping paper of the future. Tear it open. Be here. Feel the life coursing through you. This is the only moment that will ever be real. Don't let it pass you by. The Awakening Paradox. Many people spend their entire lives seeking enlightenment or inner peace, as if it were a distant mountain peak they had to climb through sheer effort and study. They read every book, follow every teacher, and try every complex technique. But the Awakening Paradox tells us that the seeking is the very thing that blocks the finding. It's like looking for your glasses while they are already perched on your nose. You cannot seek peace because peace is what is left when the seeker finally stops looking and just sits down in the silence. You don't need to add anything to your life to be whole. You only need to stop believing the story that you are broken or missing something. Beneath the noise of your thoughts and the drama of your days, the silence has been waiting for you all along, unchanged, patient, and deep. You don't have to wake up to the truth. You just have to stop dreaming the illusion that you are separate from it. Tonight, let the search end right here in this room. You aren't a student looking for a lesson. You are the lesson itself. You are the peace you have been searching for across the world. Just be. We think that by working hard, we can achieve a state of grace, but grace is not an achievement. It is a recognition. It is the moment you realize that there is nothing to fix because the you that needs fixing is just a thought. When that thought settles, the reality of your being remains. It is vast, it is quiet, and it is already perfect. You don't need to go anywhere to find the center of the universe. You are the center. The search was just a way to keep you from noticing the brilliance of your own light. Stop seeking and start seeing. The truth is not a destination. It is the eyes with which you look. You are already awake. You're just busy dreaming of the morning. Open your eyes. The Wholeness Paradox. Consider a single wave in the middle of the vast, deep ocean. The wave looks separate. It has a specific height, a speed, and a unique shape that sets it apart from all the other waves. It might fear that when it hits the shore, it will disappear into nothingness and be forgotten forever. But the wave is the ocean. It was never separate, and it can never be lost. It just changes form from movement to stillness. This is the Wholeness Paradox. You are a single, unique individual with your own story, yet you are also an inseparable part of everything that has ever been or will ever be. You are already complete, even as you continue to change and grow through the years. You are a finished masterpiece that is still being painted by the hand of time. Rest in that beautiful contradiction tonight. You are enough, exactly as you are in this moment of absolute stillness, and you are also full of infinite potential for what you will become tomorrow. You are the point and the circle, the grain of sand and the beach. There is nowhere you can go where you are not home because the universe is not outside of you. It is expressed through you. You are the ocean in a single drop of water, vast and deep. We think that our individuality is a wall that keeps us from the world. But it is actually the window through which we see the world. Without the wave, the ocean has no way to express its movement. Your life is the way the universe is moving right now. Don't be afraid of the shore. The shore is just the transition back into the depths. You have always been the ocean, and you always will be. Your separateness is a beautiful illusion that allows you to experience the world. Your unity is the underlying truth that gives you peace. You are both the dancer and the dance. Rest in your wholeness. There is nothing missing. The Enough Paradox. There is a story of a man who spent his entire life searching. Not for anything specific, just for the feeling that he had finally arrived, that the restlessness was over, that he could put down everything he was carrying and simply be. He looked for it in achievement, in love, in the approval of people whose names he's since forgotten. He crossed oceans for it. He climbed things. He built things. He started over more than once, each time certain that this version of his life would finally be the one where the feeling came. And then one evening, very late, he sat down in a quiet room. He wasn't meditating. He wasn't trying anything. He was simply too tired to keep moving. And in that stillness, with nothing achieved, nothing proven, nothing particularly special about the moment at all, it arrived. That feeling. Quiet, complete, like something returning home after a very long time away. And he understood, finally, what the searching had always been for. Not a destination. Not a version of himself that was better, or further along, or more deserving. Just this. This breath, this quiet, this ordinary, unremarkable, irreplaceable moment of being alive and still. You have been that man. You have been that search. And you have arrived at exactly that moment, right now, in this room, in this stillness that asked nothing of you and gave you everything anyway. You don't need to figure anything else out tonight. You don't need to be further along. You don't need to be more. The thing you were looking for was never ahead of you. It was always here. It was always you. Let your breath slow now. Let the thoughts drift like clouds that have somewhere else to be. Let the night hold you, completely, quietly, the way it always has. You are enough. You have always been enough. And tonight, for the first time in a long time, maybe you can actually feel it. Good night.